The shadow of absence, awakening to grief's grip. Imagine, if you will, the empty chair at the table. It's not just a piece of furniture anymore. It's a void, a silent echo of laughter that once filled the room, of hands that intertwined over shared meals, of dreams whispered in the quiet hours of night. This chair, once occupied by the one who knew your soul's every contour, now stands as a sentinel of loss. But in its emptiness lies not only sorrow, it holds an invitation to rebuild, to reclaim the fragments of a life shattered by grief. This is the journey we embark upon today, the odyssey of loss and healing, where the heart's deepest wounds become the forge for unbreakable strength. In the wake of losing a spouse, the world doesn't pause. The sun rises with indifferent precision, bills arrive like uninvited guests, and the calendar marches on, oblivious to the chasm in your chest. Yet within this relentless tide, grief emerges not as a mere shadow of despair, but as a profound transformation. It's a metamorphosis that strips away illusions, forcing us to confront the raw essence of who we are without our beloved. This script, titled Five Pitfalls to Avoid When Rebuilding Life After Loss, is your cinematic guide through this terrain. We'll navigate the emotional quagmires, the practical pitfalls, and the spiritual awakenings that define this path. Divided into seamless parts, we'll uncover the five critical mistakes that can derail your healing. Rushing into isolation, neglecting financial foundations, ignoring physical and mental health, dwelling in regret without reflection, and resisting the call to new beginnings. But more than warnings, this is a narrative of empowerment, laced with stories, metaphors, and tools to illuminate your way forward. Let us begin at the precipice, where the initial shock of loss crashes like a tidal wave. Picture Sarah, a woman in her mid-50s, whose husband, Tom, passed suddenly from a heart attack after 30 years of marriage. The funeral was a blur of condolences and casseroles. But when the crowd dispersed, Sarah found herself alone in their home, a sanctuary turned mausoleum. The empty chair at the breakfast nook mocked her every morning. She would stare at it, coffee growing cold in her hands, memories flooding in like unbidden ghosts. "Why didn't I say I love you more often?" she'd whisper to the silence. This is the raw face of grief, a cocktail of numbness, anger, and aching longing that defies logic. Grief in its essence is not an enemy to be vanquished, but a teacher to be heeded. It transforms us by dismantling the familiar, much like a forest fire that ravages the old growth to make way for new life. In the immediate aftermath, many fall into the first pitfall, rushing into isolation. It's tempting, isn't it? The world feels too bright, too loud, too insensitive to the storm raging within. Friends call, family offers support, but you retreat, building walls around your pain as if solitude could shield you from it. Sarah did this. She canceled social gatherings, ignored texts, and spent days in bed, the curtains drawn against the intrusive daylight. Isolation whispers lies that no one understands, that sharing your burden would diminish the sanctity of your loss. But here's the truth. Isolation amplifies grief's echo, turning it into a deafening roar. Consider the metaphor of a lone sailor adrift on a stormy sea. Without a crew, without anchors to other shores, the waves threaten to capsize the vessel entirely. Human connection is our lifeline. Studies in psychology, drawing from the works of experts like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, remind us that grief is not linear but cyclical, and sharing it with others, through support groups, therapy, or even a trusted confidant, provides the buoys that keep us afloat. Yet in our modern world, where social media parades curated lives and pandemics have normalized digital distance, isolation feels almost default. We scroll through feeds of others' joys, feeling our sorrow magnified in contrast, and withdraw further. But avoidance breeds complication. Sarah's isolation led to neglected mail piling up, including important financial notices. This segues into our second pitfall: neglecting financial foundations. Loss doesn't just rob us of companionship, it often upends our economic stability. Joint accounts, shared debts, insurance policies, these become minefields in the fog of grief. Many overwhelmed delay addressing them, fearing the paperwork will make the loss feel final, irrevocable. Sarah ignored the life insurance claim for months, telling herself she'd handle it when I'm ready. Meanwhile, bills mounted, and the mortgage loomed like a specter. Financial decisions post-loss are fraught with emotion. Do you sell the family home, laden with memories? Invest the inheritance impulsively to fill the void? Or freeze in indecision, letting inflation erode your security? Common mistakes include impulsive spending, retail therapy on steroids, or conversely, hoarding resources out of fear. A relatable modern challenge. In an era of gig economies and uncertain markets, widows or widowers might rush back to work too soon, sacrificing mental health for financial illusion. Or they might fall prey to scams, their vulnerability exploited by predatory lenders promising quick fixes. To navigate this, empower yourself with knowledge. Start small, gather documents in a dedicated folder, consult a financial advisor specializing in bereavement. Tools like budgeting apps, think Mint or YNAB, can track expenses without overwhelming you. Remember, financial stability isn't about erasing the past. It's about honoring your shared dreams by securing your future. Sarah eventually sought help from a grief-informed financial planner who helped her claim benefits and create a sustainable plan. It wasn't easy, tears flowed over spreadsheets, but it was a step toward reclaiming agency. As we delve deeper, the psychological impact of loss unfolds like layers of an onion, each revealing sharper stings. Loneliness isn't just absence. It's a visceral ache, a hunger for the intimate knowing that only a spouse provides. Nights stretch endlessly, the bed too vast, the silence too profound. Anxiety creeps in, worries about health, about children's futures, about facing holidays alone. Regret, that insidious companion, replays what-ifs on loop. What if I'd noticed the signs sooner? What if we'd traveled more? These thoughts, if unchecked, spiral into depression, a pitfall where the mind turns inward, devouring hope. Depression after spousal loss is alarmingly common, affecting up to 50% of survivors in the first year, according to bereavement research. It's not weakness. It's the brain's response to profound disruption. Neurochemically, grief mimics trauma, flooding the system with cortisol, disrupting sleep, appetite, and joy. Modern challenges exacerbate this. Remote work blurs boundaries, making it easy to hide decline. Social stigma around mental health discourages seeking help, and the pressure to move on quickly ignores the timeline of healing. Yet within this darkness lie hidden lessons. Grief bestows clarity, stripping away superficialities to reveal what truly matters. Sarah, in her lowest moments, journaled furiously, pouring out regrets onto pages that became mirrors of her soul. Through this, she uncovered wisdom, the realization that love isn't measured in grand gestures, but in everyday presence. Inner strength emerges not from denying pain, but from embracing it. Like a diamond formed under pressure, resilience is forged in grief's crucible. Practical tools become beacons here. Self-care isn't indulgence, it's survival. Begin with basics. Nourish your body with simple meals. Walk in nature to ground swirling thoughts. Journaling, as Sarah discovered, transforms abstract pain into tangible insights. Prompts like, "What did my spouse teach me about love?" Or, "What small act of kindness can I offer myself today?" Support groups, whether in person or online, platforms like GriefShare or Reddit's Are to Widowers, foster community, reminding you you're not alone. Therapy, particularly cognitive behavioral approaches, reframes regrets into growth opportunities. But beware the third pitfall, ignoring physical and mental health. Grief manifests somatically: headaches, fatigue, weakened immunity. Many neglect checkups, dismissing symptoms as just grief. Sarah skipped her annual physical, only to face a hypertension scare months later. Exercise falls by the wayside. Comfort eating takes hold, and sleep evades like a fickle lover. Spiritually, loss can shake faith, leading to existential questioning. Why me? Where is meaning now? Healing demands holistic attention. Incorporate mindfulness practices, meditation apps like Headspace guide breathwork to calm anxiety. Nutritionists advise anti-inflammatory diets to combat grief's toll. Spiritually, rituals honor the departed, planting a tree, creating a memory box while fostering renewal. Sarah joined a yoga class for widows, where gentle poses mirrored her journey, bending without breaking. As we transition toward hidden lessons, Consider the story of Michael, a widower in his 60s whose wife, Elena, succumbed to cancer after a long battle. Michael's grief was laced with regret. He'd worked long hours, missing precious time. But in reflection, he found clarity. Loss illuminated his priorities, prompting him to retire early and volunteer at hospices. Wisdom bloomed from pain. He mentored others, sharing that regret isn't a chain, but a compass, pointing toward unlived potentials. Anxiety, too, teaches vigilance, not paranoia, but mindful presence. It urges us to cherish health, relationships, the now. Inner strength, it's the quiet voice that says, I survived yesterday. I can face tomorrow. Metaphors abound. Grief as a winter storm, harsh yet preparatory for spring's bloom. Or as a river carving canyons, destructive yet sculpting beauty. Practical steps anchor these lessons. Small steps forward, set micro goals like brewing tea mindfully or calling a friend weekly. Build routines that blend old comforts with new explorations, perhaps cooking a favorite recipe solo, then inviting company. Financially, create an emergency fund for the soul, savings for therapy or travel that honors your spouse's spirit. In our modern tapestry, challenges like digital isolation compound these. Social media memorials can heal or haunt. Curate them wisely. Financial apps track progress, but don't let algorithms dictate worth. Depression's grip loosens with professional help. Antidepressants aren't defeat, but tools for balance. As part one draws to a close, remember, the empty chair is both reminder and invitation. Grief transforms, but pitfalls like isolation, financial neglect, and health disregard can prolong suffering. Embrace the lessons. Clarity in chaos, wisdom in wounds, strength in surrender. You've traversed the shadow. Now let's venture into renewal's light. The weight of regret and the resistance to renewal. The rain falls, relentless, blurring the world beyond the window. It mirrors the haze of grief, where days blend into nights, and the heart feels anchored to what was, rather than what could be. In the aftermath of losing a spouse, we stand at a crossroads. One path leads to lingering in the shadow of regret, replaying moments we cannot change. The other beckons toward renewal, a daunting yet hopeful horizon. This is part two of our cinematic narration, 5 pitfalls to avoid when rebuilding life after loss. Here we delve into the final 2 pitfalls, dwelling in regret without reflection and resisting the call to new beginnings, while uncovering the tools and lessons to navigate them. Through stories, metaphors, and practical steps, we'll transform the weight of loss into a catalyst for healing. Pitfall 4, dwelling in regret without reflection. Regret is grief's shadow, trailing us like a persistent echo. It whispers of missed opportunities, unspoken words, and choices we wish we could rewrite. For many like David, a widower in his late 40s, regret became a prison. His wife, Lila, passed after a swift illness, leaving him with a haunting refrain. If only I'd taken her to that specialist sooner. If only I'd worked less, loved more. David's nights were spent replaying hospital visits, analyzing every decision as if mental time travel could alter the past. This is the 4th pitfall, dwelling in regret without channeling it into reflection. Regret left unexamined is a thief. It steals sleep, joy, and the capacity to move forward. Psychologically, it's rooted in cognitive distortion. Our brains amplify failures while minimizing successes. Studies like those from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology show that prolonged regret correlates with depression and anxiety, as it traps us in a cycle of self-blame. In our modern context, this is exacerbated by comparison. Social media feeds flaunt others' seemingly perfect relationships, making our what-ifs feel sharper. David scrolled through old photos online, each image a dagger of could-have-beens. Yet regret holds a hidden gift, the potential for profound self-awareness. Reflection transforms it from a chain into a compass. Consider the metaphor of a cracked mirror. At first it distorts, showing only fragments of who we are. But with care, those pieces can be reframed into a mosaic, each shard reflecting a lesson. David began this shift through journaling, prompted by a therapist to write letters to Lila, not to dwell, but to release. "What did you teach me about courage?" he wrote. "How can I honor you now?" These questions turned regret into a dialogue with love, not loss. The psychological impact of regret is visceral. It spikes cortisol, disrupts sleep, and fuels anxiety, much like grief's earlier stages. But unlike raw sorrow, regret often masquerades as control, an illusion that if we dissect the past enough, we can master it. Modern challenges amplify this. The pressure to move on quickly clashes with our need to process slowly. Cultural narratives, especially in fast-paced societies, dismiss lingering pain as weakness, pushing us to suppress rather than reflect. Practical tools can break this cycle. Journaling, as David found, is a start. Use prompts like, "What moment with my spouse am I most grateful for? How can I carry that forward?" Cognitive behavioral techniques like reframing negative thoughts help. Instead of "I failed her," try "I did my best with what I knew." Support groups offer perspective. Others' stories normalize regret as universal, not isolating. Online platforms like the Compassionate Friends connect grievers globally, fostering shared healing. Therapy, particularly narrative therapy, rewrites the story of loss, emphasizing growth over guilt. Spiritually, regret challenges our beliefs about meaning. David, once agnostic, questioned life's purpose after Lila's death. Yet through a grief workshop, he explored rituals, lighting a candle nightly to honor her, not mourn her. This act shifted regret into reverence, aligning with spiritual traditions that view loss as a teacher. Whether through faith, meditation, or nature, find rituals that anchor you to the present while honoring the past. Pitfall 5, resisting the call to new beginnings. The fifth pitfall is perhaps the most subtle yet profound, resisting the call to new beginnings. After loss, the idea of moving forward feels like betrayal. The heart clings to the familiar, even if it's painful, because it's all that remains of the life shared. Maria, a widow in her early 60s, exemplifies this. Her husband, Carlos, died after a long battle with dementia. For years, Maria was his caregiver, her identity woven into his needs. After his passing, friends urged her to travel, volunteer, or date, but she recoiled. "How can I start anew when my heart is still his?" she asked. The empty chair at her table wasn't just a reminder, it was a shrine. This resistance is human. Grief binds us to our loved one, and new beginnings seem to sever that thread. Psychologically, this stems from attachment theory. Our bonds with a spouse shape our sense of self, and loss disrupts that foundation. Moving forward feels like abandoning not just them, but who we were with them. Modern challenges complicate this. Societal pressure to reinvent oneself post-loss, think glossy self-help trends, can feel inauthentic, while isolation, exacerbated by remote work or urban anonymity, makes new connections daunting. Yet new beginnings don't erase the past. They honor it. Picture a river after a storm. The waters churn, muddy with debris, but eventually they clear, carving new paths without forgetting the old. Healing is this flow, dynamic, not static. Maria resisted until a friend invited her to a community garden. There, planting bulbs in soil, she felt a spark of life. It wasn't replacing Carlos, it was living in a way he'd have cheered. The hidden lesson here is permission. Loss grants us the clarity to redefine purpose. Maria discovered she loved teaching others to garden, channeling Carlos's nurturing spirit. Inner strength emerges when we allow ourselves to explore, even tentatively. Anxiety about moving on eases when we reframe it as moving with, carrying love into new chapters. Practical tools pave this path. Start small. Try one new activity, like a cooking class or book club, that aligns with past joys or unfulfilled dreams. Maria joined a gardening group, finding camaraderie in shared dirt. Set micro goals, one outing a month, one new recipe. Financially allocate a renewal fund, small savings for experiences that spark joy, like a weekend trip or art supplies. Therapy or coaching can guide this transition, helping reframe fear as curiosity. Online communities like Meetup or Widowed Village connect you to others embracing new starts. Spiritually, new beginnings reconnect us to meaning. Maria found solace in planting, a metaphor for growth from loss. Whether through faith, meditation, or creative expression, seek what stirs your soul. Rituals bridge old and new, Create a memory box for your spouse, then add tokens of new experiences. This honors both past and future. Modern challenges and practical steps. Today's world complicates healing. Digital echo chambers, endless loops of memorial posts, or idealized lives can trap us in regret or resistance. Financial pressures like rising costs or job insecurity make renewal feel frivolous. Depression, a lingering guest, saps energy for new steps. Yet these challenges are surmountable with intention. For regret, use technology wisely. Limit social media to avoid comparison traps. Curate feeds to include grief-positive content. Financially, consult advisors to balance stability with growth. Perhaps invest in a course that sparks passion. Physically, prioritize health, regular checkups, gentle exercise like walking, and nutrition. Think Mediterranean diets to boost mood. Mentally, apps like Calm or Insight Timer offer guided meditations to ease anxiety. Socially, lean into community, virtual or local, to combat isolation. Stories of transformation. Consider James, a widower whose wife Emily died in a car accident. Regret consumed him. Why hadn't he driven that day? Through therapy, he channeled guilt into advocacy, speaking at road safety events. His new beginning wasn't betrayal, it was purpose born of love. Or take Priya, who lost her husband to cancer. Resisting new relationships, she found joy in pottery, her hands molding clay as she once molded dreams with him. These stories remind us, healing doesn't erase love, it extends it. Closing the chapter, Iwan and Babshinis Kurimoni Burn. As we close part 2, the rain outside softens, sunlight breaking through. The tree, once bare, shows green buds, small but undeniable. Regret and resistance are heavy, but they're not your destination. They're signposts, urging reflection and courage. The tools, journaling, therapy, small steps, rituals, light the way. The empty chair remains, but it's no longer just loss. It's a seat for new stories, waiting to be written. The dawn of renewal, embracing grief as a path to honor love. The horizon glows, a canvas of gold and blush, as if the world itself is whispering, begin again. After the storm of loss, the heart yearns for light, not to erase the shadows, but to illuminate a path forward. This is part 3 of 5 pitfalls to avoid. When rebuilding life after loss, the final chapter of our cinematic narration. Here we weave together the threads of grief's lessons, the tools for healing, and the empowering call to honor love by embracing renewal. No new pitfalls are introduced. Instead, we reflect on the 5 we've explored: isolation, financial neglect, ignoring health, dwelling in regret, and resisting new beginnings, and synthesize them into a roadmap for resilience. Through stories, metaphors, and practical steps, we'll awaken hope, showing that grief is not the end, but a gateway to a life reimagined. Reflecting on the journey, picture the meadow at dawn, each blade of grass glistening with dew, each step forward a testament to survival. Grief, like this landscape, is both vast and intimate. It has challenged us with pitfalls that threaten to anchor us in pain. Rushing into isolation, where silence amplifies sorrow, neglecting financial foundations, risking stability, ignoring physical and mental health, letting the body and mind erode, dwelling in regret, trapped in unchangeable pasts, and resisting new beginnings, fearing betrayal of love. Yet each pitfall carries a lesson, a seed of wisdom that, when nurtured, blooms into strength. Consider Elena, a widow in her 70s, whose story ties these threads together. Her husband Marco passed after a long illness, leaving her in a home filled with memories and an uncertain future. Initially, Elena fell into isolation, declining invitations from her book club, feeling their chatter trivialized her loss. Financially, she delayed sorting Marco's estate, overwhelmed by paperwork. Her health suffered. Sleepless nights led to fatigue, and she skipped meals, dismissing self-care as selfish. Regret consumed her. Why didn't we retire sooner? And new beginnings. Unthinkable. She wore her wedding ring like armor against change. But Elena's story didn't end there. A neighbor's persistent kindness, a weekly coffee drop-off, cracked her isolation. A financial advisor's guidance helped her secure Marco's pension, easing her fears. Yoga classes recommended by a grief counselor restored her energy. Journaling turned regret into gratitude for their shared years. And slowly she embraced new beginnings, volunteering at a local library where reading to children echoed Marco's love of storytelling. Elena's journey mirrors our own. Pitfalls are real, but so is the path out. The psychological and spiritual synthesis. Grief's psychological toll, loneliness, anxiety, depression, is well documented. Research like that from the American Psychological Association shows spousal loss disrupts identity, triggering a cascade of emotional and cognitive shifts. Loneliness isn't just social, it's existential, a questioning of self without the other. Anxiety spikes as we face an unpredictable future. Depression, affecting up to half of grievers in the first year, dims hope. Yet these are not endpoints. They're signals urging us to rebuild. Spiritually, loss shakes our foundations. For some like Elena, faith wavers. Where was God when Marco suffered? For others, it deepens, finding meaning in ritual or nature. The hidden lesson is universal. Grief clarifies purpose. It strips away the trivial, revealing what endures. Love, connection, legacy. Like a sculptor chiseling stone, grief shapes us, exposing resilience beneath the raw surface. Modern challenges complicate this. Digital isolation, endless scrolling through curated lives deepens loneliness. Financial pressures from inflation to healthcare costs loom larger in grief's fog. Health neglect is insidious in a world of convenience foods and sedentary habits. Regret festers in a culture that glorifies perfection. And new beginnings feel risky in an era of uncertainty, where job markets shift and communities fragment. Yet these challenges are not insurmountable. They're invitations to act with intention. Practical tools for renewal. Healing demands action, small but deliberate. Let's distill the tools from our journey into a practical roadmap, tailored to bypass the pitfalls and embrace renewal. Combat isolation with connection. Action, join a support group, in person like GriefShare, or online like Widowed Village. Schedule one social interaction weekly, a coffee, a call, a walk. Why? Connection counters loneliness, fostering shared understanding. Elena's coffee drop-offs became lifelines. Modern tip, use platforms like Zoom for virtual grief groups, but balance screen time with face-to-face moments to ground you. Secure financial foundations. Action, create a grief budget using apps like Mint or YNAB. Consult a financial advisor specializing in bereavement. Find via CFP board. File claims promptly, insurance, pensions, Social Security. Why? Stability frees mental space for healing. Elena's pension secured her home, easing anxiety. Modern tip, beware online scams targeting grievers. Verify advisors through trusted networks. Prioritize physical and mental health. Action, schedule annual checkups. Adopt gentle exercise, yoga, walking, and nutrient-rich diets, Mediterranean style. Use mindfulness apps like Headspace for anxiety. Seek therapy, CBT or narrative therapy reframes pain. Why? Health is the foundation of resilience. Elena's yoga restored her vitality. Modern tip, leverage telehealth for therapy access. Track sleep with wearables to monitor patterns. Transform regret into reflection. Action, journal daily with prompts. What did my spouse love about me? How can I honor that? Write letters to your loved one, releasing guilt. Share stories in support groups. Why? Reflection turns regret into wisdom. Elena's journaling uncovered gratitude. Modern tip, use digital journals like Day One for privacy, but avoid social media comparison traps. Embrace new beginnings. Action, try one new activity monthly, cooking, volunteering, art. Create a renewal fund for experiences, a class, a trip. Build rituals blending old and new, like a memory box with tokens of growth. Why? New beginnings honor love by living fully. Elena's library volunteering echoed Marco's legacy. Modern tip, explore Meetup for local groups. Curate social media to inspire, not overwhelm. These tools are not quick fixes, but stepping stones. They weave together the emotional, connection, reflection, practical, finance, health, and spiritual, rituals, purpose, creating a holistic path. Elena's story shows this. Small steps, coffee, yoga, volunteering, built a bridge from loss to life. Stories of resilience. Let's meet Raj, a widower in his 50s whose wife, Anjali, died of cancer. Raj fell into every pitfall. He isolated, ignored bills, neglected health, drowned in regret, why didn't I push for treatment, and resisted change, keeping Anjali's garden untouched. But a grief counselor introduced him to a community art project. Painting murals, Raj found expression for his pain. He sorted finances with a planner, joined a gym, and journaled, turning regret into gratitude for Anjali's laughter. His new beginning? Teaching art to kids, planting seeds in her garden's soil. Raj's story reminds us, renewal doesn't erase love, it extends it. Or consider Aisha, who lost her husband Malik to a sudden stroke. Isolation beckoned, but she joined a mosque's grief circle. Financially, she tackled debts with a counselor's help. Health-wise, she walked daily, praying as she moved. Regret. Why didn't we travel more? Ease through letters to Malik. Her new beginning was a travel blog, documenting solo trips in his honor. Aisha's path shows grief's universality, transcending culture, and the power of intentional steps. The call to action, honoring love through living. As dawn brightens the meadow, the figure opens the wooden box, scattering seeds into the earth. Seeds of hope, of memory, of tomorrow. This is your call. Grief is not a sentence, but a sacred path. The empty chair at your table is not just loss. It's a space for new stories, new love, new you. To honor your spouse is to live, not in their shadow, but in their light. Every step, connecting, securing, healing, reflecting, beginning, carries their love forward. The pitfalls are real, but so is your resilience. In a world of digital noise, economic strain, and emotional weight, you are not alone. Communities, tools, and your own inner strength are your allies. Like the meadow's seeds, your efforts may seem small, but they will bloom. Plant them, tend them, watch them grow.